Could you describe your process of writing a speech, say for Mitt Romney? What was different about that?
Well, every principal is different. So speechwriters approach this in different ways, right? There are some speechwriters where it's kind of, their approach is the speech is the speech. It's the moment that's called for. It's the right speech for Mitt Romney to give. But largely you're hiring me because I am like, a wealth of wonderful writing, and I'm going to come and grace you with all of this wonderful writing and help you collaborate and come up with a good speech. I have a really different process, and part of this is because I was kind of somewhat self-trained. I didn't really have what somebody would call a mentor, although I don't love that term anyway, but I didn't really have somebody who pulled me under their wing and was like, this is how you do it. So I am kind of, I approach things in this very academic way where if I'm writing for someone for the first time, the biggest thing I'm trying to get a sense of is them. Like, I'm at the point in my career where I know issues, I know language, I generally know the entry point on a lot of issues. Policy work I can do on my own. The thing that I'm looking for when I sit down with a principal is what can I get from you or learn about you or see about you that I can't get from doing research independently. And the Paul Ryan experience was really, that was important in that regard because the time frames were so rare that we had time to work in extended sessions. So I don't ever want to sit in a room with a principal and ask them things that I could have found out somewhere else. So my research process is very thorough. I'll read everything you've ever given. I'll watch everything. I become kind of like a friendly stalker. Like, I'm not scary, but if you knew how much I've observed you, it would be super creepy. And so I'll just go and I try to I'll download speeches that they've given, and if I go running, like, I'll listen to it. And I'm trying to get to that place where I can identify the turns of phrase, the little things that you do that kind of make it you. I like to watch the nonverbal delivery a lot because it's amazing what you can do when you write something to the nonverbal delivery. You can just elicit out of people the thing that they want to do anyway. Like Ted Stevens, I can remember one of my first experiences with this was I had watched him on the floor, and he likes to, he was known for having a bit of a fiery temper. And that could be very powerful for a speaker. That can be actually a great moment because it wakes everybody up, like, oh, he's serious, And he was going down to deliver his floor statement on the Iraq War. And I thought, there was something about, that Iraq had violated UN resolutions 19 times. And I thought, that's just like a talking point. Like, everybody just says, oh, they violated it 19 times. But I thought, I could get him going, right? So 19 times, ... 19 times, ... bold, 19 times, exclamation point. And sure enough, he went down there, and it was like I'm having a little victory in my cube because, he went down there, 19 times. 19 times, and I was like, nice, So what you're trying to do, my attitude about speeches is, look, there are things they need to do, right? They need to communicate the message that you want to communicate. They need to speak to audiences in terms that are persuasive, that get at their questions, their skepticisms, their concerns, their emotions about something. Sometimes they need to impart knowledge. But the most important thing is that a speech is performed. All those things I just described, you could do that with an op-ed. What you can't do is get a sense of the person through the op-ed, right? The performance is a whole other level. And so I always view it like this. I tailor my process to my principal. And I try to learn as much about them because my standard is, I don't want Mitt Romney to try to be Barack Obama because he's not ever going to, they're just on the standard of eloquence and it's just different. But what I want is for Mitt Romney to show up and be the best version of Mitt Romney that I've ever seen, right, in private. And I think one of the biggest tragedies, and it did happen to us during the Romney campaign, is when you hear people afterwards say, like, someone will lose and people will say, I just don't feel like we ever really saw, who the real person was. You hear this about Hillary Clinton a lot. I've talked with Megan Rooney, one of her writers, and it's like that struggle to break through and have people walk away and you feel like, wow, they really saw her, right? They really saw him. The idea that the best version of that person is in a meeting and not out on the podium, that's that's tough for a writer. You know, I want you to see what I see, the good things that I see. And so my standard is always, not is the speech like good by like Lincoln standards, you know, Lincoln at Gettysburg. My standard is that speech, like knock it out of the park. That is genuinely who my candidate or my principal is, and it's the best version. And you know what? If you don't like that person, you shouldn't vote for him. Like we left it all on the field. That's who that person really is.
Right. So switching gears to